Hi, welcome to Quilting with Lori. My name is Lori Dickman, and today I am going to be presenting to you week number 12 of my 52-week series of scrappy blocks. And today's block I'm calling Pathways. And it's a very simple block, just simply using squares and rectangles. It's a block that you can put together quickly. It's also one that not only is it great just for scraps, but maybe you have themed fabrics that you'd like to use up. It really will go together so quickly for you. So let's see how this block is put together. All of the blocks in my 52-week series of scrappy blocks will finish at 12 inches. They're 12.5-inch blocks, and they will finish in the quilt at 12 inches. But if you'll wait until the end of this tutorial today, you're going to see where I've put together this very same block in a 9-inch or 9.5-inch, and then it finishes at 9 inches. So you want to wait and check that out as well in case you have a lot of squares that you can use to create some 9.5-inch squares just like this. So for this Pathways block, you're going to pull 3.5-inch squares. And basically this is put together in 4 quadrants right here, as you'll see. So there are 3.5-inch squares in each quadrant, in a light and a dark or a medium. And there's also a rectangle in each quadrant. And so that's all you're putting together, really simple. And to obtain those rectangles, I simply took 7-inch squares, cut them in half so it's 3.5 inches wide, and then I just trimmed off a 1/2 inch. So I had a 6.5 inch by 3.5 inch rectangle, and that's what is needed. So I cut the 7-inch square in half, trimmed off a 1/2 inch, and I have enough for 2 of the rectangles in the block. And I'll do the same with this one, this large rectangle. I'll cut it in half so it's 3.5 inches wide, trim off a 1/2 inch, and I'll have enough for these 2 as well. Then you're going to need 4 light colored 3.5-inch squares for each corner, and you're going to need 4 mediums or darks. This block you can have fun with darks, mediums, or maybe just do it in 2 color, however you choose. I have chosen some darks, 3.5-inch squares here that will coordinate with that orange, and these 2 here that will coordinate with this one, and those are 3.5 inches. So all I've pulled from my stash are 2 7-inch squares in the darker colors, 4 3.5-inch light squares, and 4 3.5-inch medium or dark squares to coordinate with these. And that's all I have done. And again, if you have some themed fabric, some themed yardage or fat quarters in your stash that you would like to use up, this would be a great opportunity to do that. Now let's take it to the sewing machine and see how easy this is to put together. Before we head to the sewing machine, I am going to cut these 2 7-inch squares in half. So I'm lining it up on the 3.5-inch line there, cutting those in half. I'm just going to stack all 4 of them together, and I'm going to trim away a 1/2 inch, and that allows me, or leaves me with 4 of these rectangles that are 3.5 inches by 6.5 inches, and that's what I need. Now let's go to the sewing machine. Okay, so I have the block laid out here on my table next to my sewing machine. It's kind of hard to see these white ones since they match my tabletop, but every corner here has a white 3.5-inch square. There are 4 quadrants here that we're going to be working with. Each quadrant has a rectangle and 2 3.5-inch squares, a light and a dark or a medium. And so we're going to be putting these together in the quadrants and then sewing the block together. Very easy. Pull down your PDF. It's in the description box below. The link is down there. Make sure you pull it down. It shows you the layout of the block and the size requirements and everything, so that you'll know exactly what to cut, what to pull from your stash, and how to lay this out. Now I'm going to go ahead and sew it together for you. So I have sewn the 4 quadrants together, as you can see here, and you'll notice that each rectangle is going in a different direction. Just follow your PDF to make sure that you're laying them out properly. Now we're simply going to sew the 2 sides of the block together, and then the top and the bottom together. So, and we'll have it done. I did square up each of these quadrants to 6.5 inches. So make sure you do that before you put it together. Let me get it sewn and I'll be right back. So here are two of my Pathways blocks ready to go. These are 12.5 inches. They will finish at 12 inches in the block, or in the quilt, excuse me. And I think they're beautiful. They're wonderful to put together with a lot of your scraps. They go together so quickly and they make a beautiful pattern design. I will enjoy quilting a motif in all of these four on the corners. There's going to be 4 white or light colored blocks in all of these corners. That will be quite fun. And I can imagine doing some beautiful feather quilting along all of this. And so I'm excited to get going on something like that. I really do enjoy seeing quilts from my viewers, so please don't hesitate to email me through my website, and I'd love to be able to see some of the quilts that you put together. Now let's take a look at the block in a smaller version. This is a 9.5 inch, which will finish at 9 inches. And let's say you have a lot of 2.5 inch squares in your stash and 5-inch charm squares in your stash. That is how this one was made. So it uses 4 light 2.5 inch squares. It uses 4 mediums or darks, whatever you choose to use, 2.5 inch squares. And then there are 2 5-inch squares that are pulled from your stash, and they're simply cut in half so that they're 2.5 inches wide. And then you do have to just trim off a 1/2 inch so that they end up 4.5 by 2.5, and the block goes together beautifully. So if you have a lot of 2.5 inch squares and 5-inch squares in your scrap stash, this might be a great quilt block for you to make. And let's take a look at some fat quarters or some yardage with themes. So here are some fun options. This could be a child's quilt with where you're using some nice brights. There's a fun Hanna-Barbera themed fabric and some lights. What a fun quilt that would create for a child. Here we've got one that has a beautiful floral print with some pastel lights and then a dark kind of a purpley navy color that goes with it. That would also create a beautiful quilt using this block. And here's one that would be fun just for a winter theme. It's got a nice wintry outdoor theme here with a plaid, a deep blue, and then a deep blue stripe with some of the lights. So that would also be fun. There's so many options. Just go through your fabric stash, see what you all have, and have fun creating some beautiful blocks. And you might want to create the smaller version. You might want to create the larger version. But I hope that you're having fun with all of these scrappy blocks that I've been presenting. And I can't wait to see them all finished. And this again is week number 12. Don't forget to pull down the PDF, which is attached in the description box below. So thank you so much for stopping by and watching week number 12 of my 52-week Scrappy Block series. And I just wanted to point out the quilt behind me. You've been seeing this quilt for the last few videos that I have been producing. And I will be doing a tutorial on this later on this week on how you can use one of your triangle templates that you might have stored in your home that you can actually create this. It's a really simple block, no Y seams at all, very fun and fast to put together. So keep an eye out for that. Make sure you like and subscribe so that you'll be notified when I put out my new video tutorials. Thank you so much for watching. Again, I'm Lori Dickman, Quilting with Lori, and have a great and happy quilting week.